This conference will now be recorded.
I will now ask the court reporter to please turn on the equipment and we will begin. On behalf of the Maryland Department of the Environment, Air and Radiation Administration, I would like to welcome you to this public hearing. My name is Kelsey Sisko, and I am a Natural Resources Planner in the Regulations Development Division, Air and Radiation Administration, Maryland Department of the Environment. I will serve as hearing officer for today's hearing. This hearing is being recorded as well as transcribed. Today, we will have for the record as the court recorder. We will also have Carolyn Jones, a senior engineer with MDE, to assist in the hearing. This hearing concerns the proposed action to adopt Regulation .01 through .05 under new Chapter COMAR 261143 Advanced Clean Trucks Program. The purpose of this proposed action is to adopt implementing regulations for California's Advanced Clean Trucks ACT program under COMAR 261143. We will use the webinar login to record all those in attendance today. Let the record show that the time is 10:06 a.m. on October 11th, 2023. This hearing was scheduled for a 10 o'clock a.m. start time. We will now proceed with the public hearing concerning the proposed new chapter, COMAR 261143. The purpose of this hearing is to give you, the public, the opportunity to comment on the regulatory proposal. Notice of this virtual public hearing for this action appeared as follows. In the Maryland Register, Volume 50, Issue 18, pages 836 through 840 on September 8th, 2023. On the Maryland Department of the Environment, Air and Radiation Administration webpage titled Air and Radiation Regulations, Public Hearings, Meetings, and Requests for Comments. On the Maryland Department of the Environment's webpage titled Calendar of Events, the public comment period began on September 8th, 2023 for receipt of all comments to the proposal. Oral comments are being recorded today. Written comments for this proposal must be received by 5:00 p.m. this evening, October 11th. Comments may be sent to Tim Shepard, Maryland Department of the Environment, Air and Radiation Administration, Air Quality Regulations at email mde.mobilecomments@maryland.gov. We have a list of people who wish to make a statement today that appear on the screen. If your name is not on the list and you would like to be added, you may use the webinar chat feature to add your name to speak, or you may announce yourself now. Do we have any participants that would like to make a statement today that are not on the list?
Hi, this is Shatora Roberson. I am on my cell phone, so I just wanted to let you guys know I was on the line. I'm having trouble accessing the hearing online.
Okay, thank you for letting me know. Alrighty, hearing none, we will proceed. Thank you, Carolyn, for updating the list as well. The hearing will proceed in the following order. First, I will introduce Mr. Justin Mabry, the representative of the Air and Radiation Administration, who will make a statement. After Mr. Mabry is finished, I will call on any elected official or government official who wants to make a statement. Then I will call on the persons who have signed up to make a statement. I will now call on Justin Mabry.
Good morning. My name is Justin Mabry, and I'm a senior engineer in the Mobile Sources Control Program of the Air and Radiation Administration, Department of the Environment. This public hearing is being held pursuant to federal law found at Section 110A of the Clean Air Act and 40 CFR Section 51.102. It is also being held in conformance with the State Administrative Procedure Act, codified under the Annotated Code of Maryland State Government Article beginning at Section 10-101 and the Annotated Code of Maryland Environment Article beginning at Section 2-301. Notice of this hearing appeared in the Maryland Register on September 8, 2023. Access to the proposed action and supporting documents were made available by request or via the Maryland Department of the Environment, Air, and Radiation Administration webpage titled Air and Radiation Regulations, Public Hearings, Meetings, and Requests for Comments from September 8, 2023 to October 11, 2023. The Secretary of the Environment proposes to adopt COMAR 261143 Advanced Clean Trucks Program. The purpose of today's hearing is to give the public an opportunity to comment on the proposed amendments. The Clean Truck Act of 2023 requires the Maryland Department of the Environment, or the department, to adopt regulations implementing the California Advanced Clean Trucks ACT program. The department is proposing to adopt a new chapter, COMAR 261143, with the applicable California regulations through incorporation by reference at COMAR 26114302. The adoption of ACT reinforces Maryland's ongoing commitment to reduce climate pollutants in order to reach the nation-leading goal of achieving a 60% reduction in greenhouse gas emissions by 2031. Transportation accounts for over 40% of the greenhouse gas emissions in Maryland, and medium heavy-duty trucks account for about a third of those emissions. The emissions of medium heavy-duty trucks continue to increase even as other sectors decrease. On-road diesel trucks are also the largest contributor to NOx emissions in Maryland. Under the Advanced Clean Trucks program, manufacturers of Class 2B through 8 vehicles must meet a sales requirement beginning with the 2027 model year. The sales requirement means that a set percentage of Class 2B through 8 vehicles must be zero emission. The sales percentage requirement gradually increases through the 2035 model year and varies by vehicle weight class. Beginning with the 2027 model year, manufacturers subject to this rule would incur deficits for each vehicle sold. These deficits must be offset with credits generated from selling medium heavy-duty zero-emission vehicles or near zero-emission vehicles. Credits generated under the program can be banked for use in future years or traded to other manufacturers. And manufacturers subject to this rule must report sales information and credit trade information annually to the department to demonstrate compliance. The adoption of ACT requires truck manufacturers to produce an increasing percentage of ZEVs. Entities directly affected by the rule, such as medium heavy-duty manufacturers, fleet owners and operators, and government agencies, will experience increased costs related to the purchase of medium heavy-duty vehicles. However, the proposed rule will result in more medium heavy-duty ZEVs in use in Maryland. Moreover, ZEVs on the road will help Maryland address its climate emission goal, as well as reduce criteria pollutants which have harmful health impacts on the citizens of Maryland. Due to the technological requirements to produce these vehicles and component costs, ZEV trucks will be more expensive than their internal combustion counterpart. It is anticipated that this increased cost will be passed on to the consumer. The department anticipates that the initial purchase price of medium heavy-duty ZEVs will decrease over time as technology advances, battery costs decline, and economy of scale improves. The proposed rulemaking will result in increased compliance costs. However, incentives on both the state and federal level can help reduce this cost by lowering the purchase price, thereby reducing the incremental costs as well as reducing the cost of charging equipment. The costs and benefits associated with Maryland's adoption of ACT were estimated by applying a scaling factor to California's estimates. The department compared annual vehicle miles traveled of medium heavy-duty trucks in Maryland to California and calculated a scaling factor of 0.22. Using this scaling factor, the department was able to estimate the economic impacts of this program. The total compliance costs associated with the adoption of ACT were estimated to be $628 million between 2027 and 2040. It is estimated the battery electric technology will reach cost parity or reach total cost of ownership parity with diesel-powered vehicles by the 2024 model year for some applications. Emissions benefits. The Advanced Clean Truck program will reduce emissions of greenhouse gas, NOx, and PM. Greenhouse gas emissions contribute significantly to climate change. In Maryland, transportation accounts for over 40% of greenhouse gas emissions. Maryland and the Chesapeake Bay are particularly vulnerable to the effects of climate change. Major concerns include a rise in coastal waters, loss of aquatic life, impact to oysters, crab, and the bay ecosystem, and the potential for extreme weather conditions. ACT will reduce greenhouse gas emissions from motor vehicles and is absolutely a critical part of our efforts to address climate change. Maryland's challenges to meet the federal health-based national ambient air quality standards for ozone and fine particulates are among the toughest in the country. We've seen great success in recent years as we worked to attain these standards, but more work is needed to ensure our progress is maintained. In addition to being a major contributor to the state's ozone and fine particulate pollution, NOx emissions also adversely impact the Chesapeake Bay. The NOx reductions from ACT will be very important in our efforts to obtain and maintain these standards and improve the health of the vulnerable as well as reduce pollution in the Chesapeake Bay. ACT will result in significant emission reductions in Maryland. By 2050, CO2 emissions are projected to be reduced by 1.49 million metric tons per year, while NOx emissions are expected to be reduced by 1,810 short tons per year, and PM 2.5 emissions are expected to be reduced by 20 short tons per year. These amendments will be submitted to the EPA as a revision to Maryland's state implementation plan, and the department will consider all comments on the amendments before making a decision to adopt these amendments. And that's it.
Thank you, Mr. Mabry. At this time, are there any public officials who wish to make a statement today? For the public, when giving your statement, please identify yourself, spell your name for the record, give your affiliation, and deliver your statement loudly and clearly. To keep the length of this public hearing manageable and respectful of everyone's time, we request that you keep your statement to approximately 3 minutes. We respectfully request, if your comments are the same or similar to previous statements, that you may note this in a brief statement, but provide your full comments by email to mde.mobilecomments@maryland.gov by 5:00 p.m. today. All written and oral statements will be considered by MDE. Are there any questions? Hearing none, I will now call on the persons who indicated they would like to speak. First, Sari Emil.
Hi, can you hear me? Awesome. Good morning. I'm Sari Amiel, S-A-R-I, last name A-M-I-E-L. I'm an attorney at the Sierra Club, commenting on behalf of the Sierra Club Maryland chapter. I first want to thank MDE for all of your hard work on drafting the Advanced Clean Trucks rule so quickly and finalizing the adoption of the Advanced Clean Cars 2 rule. We hope to see the Advanced Clean Trucks rule finalized in 2023 and implemented as soon as possible for model year 2027 vehicles. The Advanced Clean Trucks rule is critical to meeting Maryland's climate targets. In 2022, the General Assembly passed the Climate Solutions Now Act, which requires that Maryland reduce greenhouse gas emissions 60% below 2006 levels by 2031. The MDE Pathways report released this year included the Advanced Clean Trucks rule as an important strategy to meet these ambitious targets. Other states, including California, Colorado, Massachusetts, New York, New Jersey, Oregon, Washington, and Vermont, have all adopted this rule to help meet their state climate goals. And if Maryland doesn't pass the Advanced Clean Trucks rule, it will be missing out on billions of tons of emission reductions and improvements to public health statewide. In fact, tailpipe pollution from cars, trucks, and buses spews large amounts of ozone and soot pollution that harms our health. Diesel exhaust contains more than 40 known cancer-causing organic substances, making it responsible for about 70% of the cancer risk related to air toxins. And unfortunately, about 82% of Marylanders live in areas that are designated as failing to meet the EPA's health-based national ambient air quality standards. Pollution from medium and heavy-duty vehicles and the health risks caused by that pollution also have serious implications for environmental justice communities. New year-over-year sales targets for pollution-free electric trucks is a floor, not a ceiling, and we need to make sure to transition away from diesel trucks quickly, especially in communities with environmental justice concerns. Residents living near ports, warehouses, and busy roads are already exposed to such high rates of heavy-duty vehicle pollution that physicians have labeled these areas diesel death zones because asthma and cancer rates are so much higher. In 2010, Baltimore's rate of asthma-related hospitalizations is almost 3 times higher than the US average and more than twice the average for Maryland. And recent data indicates this trend has not changed. The Advanced Clean Trucks rule is an important step to mitigating these impacts by accelerating the number of trucks that don't emit tailpipe pollution. And in implementing the Advanced Clean Trucks rule, MDE should also include a large entity reporting requirement and should consider lowering the threshold for fleets that are required to report below 50, given the large number of businesses that have fewer than 50 vehicles. For example, Washington State has lowered the threshold to 5 fleets of 5 vehicles, and Colorado has lowered it to 20. This will enable MDE to obtain more information about vehicles' charging needs and fleet management considerations for medium and heavy-duty vehicles. Additionally, MDE should also ensure that transit and school buses are not exempt from any reporting requirement. I just briefly want to add before closing, several members of the public who might like to make comments told me they can't find the chat box. So there's a way to enable the chat feature. That would be much appreciated. And then just to close, thank you for providing the opportunity to comment. And thank you again for all the important work that you're doing to clean Maryland's air and protect public health.
Thank you for your comments. The next speaker is Erica Sward.
Good morning. Thank you. My name is Erica Sward, E-R-I-K-A, S as in Sam, W-A, R as in Robert, D as in David. I am Assistant Vice President of Advocacy for the American Lung Association. I also live in Chevy Chase, Maryland with my husband and our 2 boys. The American Lung Association supports Maryland's adoption and implementation of the Advanced Clean Truck program as a critical step forward to bringing healthier air to all residents, especially those most impacted by diesel truck exhaust. Under federal law, Maryland has the authority to enact more health protective standards to cut pollution and maintain our strong clean air progress. The ACT program is built on reductions of harmful air pollutants such as smog-forming oxides of nitrogen and particulate matter. This program also offers major climate benefits. As documented in the American Lung Association's State of the Air 2023 report, over 500,000 children and adults in Maryland are living with asthma, including me. While Maryland has made important progress in cleaning the air with recently passing more health protective passenger vehicle standards, we must continue to address the outsized impacts caused by pollution from the trucking sector. Despite progress, Maryland scores an F grade for ozone pollution in at least 4 counties, including Baltimore and Hartford, and that's in our State of the Air report. Adoption of the Act will improve health, reduce disparities, and curb climate pollution. Further, the Federal Inflation Reduction Act offers significant incentives for new or used zero-emission vehicle purchases, while the bipartisan infrastructure law invests in charging infrastructure. In Maryland, we estimate over $27 billion in public health benefits cumulatively by 2050 through a transition to zero-emission passenger vehicles and energy sources. The Lung Association's Zeroing In on Healthy Air report points to over 2,000 premature deaths avoided, over 60,000 asthma attacks avoided, and 315,000 lost workdays avoided due to cleaner air. The Lung Association places high priority on state adoption of the ACT program because it protects lung health, helps to reduce health disparities and pollution burdens, and reduces climate pollution that threatens the health of all of us. In addition, Action Now allows Maryland to capture more of the benefits of federal investments in infrastructure, rebates, and tax incentives. It is truly a win-win. Thank you for holding this important discussion today. As a 17-year Maryland resident, I urge the implementation of this life-saving rule without delay. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. The next speaker is Luis Campion.
Thank you. Louis Campion for Maryland Motor Truck Association, LOUIS CAMPION. And our organization does understand the need to reduce greenhouse gases from the transportation sector. Realistically, there are major hurdles that have to be overcome before widespread adoption of zero emission trucks occurs. Those hurdles include everything from grid capacity to zero charging infrastructure today, cost, battery range, battery weight, and many others. For some segments, like the heavy duty long haul sector, there are incredible operational limitations, but there are industry segments that are pilot testing these vehicles on a small scale, typically regional or local deliveries that are back to the same terminal each day for charging. We do believe these vehicles are coming. We also believe that realistically, they're not coming in accordance with the timeline that California has laid out in the ACT. For example, I have a member in Western Maryland who placed an order over 18 months ago for two heavy-duty electric trucks to begin the testing process, of which they've been advised that they will not receive them before sometime next year, nearly 2 years after their purchase. During the 2023 legislative session, our association did support the passage of the Advanced Clean Trucks legislation with the inclusion of a robust needs assessment prior to implementation. Since that time, actions taken in California, I think, further illustrate the need for that assessment for a successful conversion to zero emission trucks, particularly in California, where their recent passage of the Advanced Clean Fleet rule will require that 100% of medium and heavy duty trucks purchased in the state be zero emission by 2036. Their announcement that they intend to increase the sales percentages under the ACT, even though the state reports that it had only 272 zero emission trucks and 340 delivery vans at the end of 2022. To give you some realistic perspective on that, Maryland's adoption of the ACT will require the sale of more than 2,500 of these vehicles in the first model year alone, should you implement with 2027. We think that the cost benefit analysis in the regulation estimating that truck users will save in excess of $3.3 billion is highly uncertain. Most estimates showing savings by converting to zero emission trucks are overstated because they project based on a single owner for the lifetime of the vehicle's cycle. Reality is that no one can predict the ultimate impact at this point in time, whether there will be a savings or a cost to these vehicles, because there's no long-term data available yet to support these projections, since there are so few of these trucks currently on the road and for such a short period of time. We do look forward to working with you on the needs assessment and implementation plan. Without those, any proposal to transition to zero emission vehicles in the trucking industry will be impossible to achieve. It'll only serve as an artificial mandate. We need to be very strategic about how we make this investment, or people will not get the food, the medicine, and the basic supplies that trucks deliver to them in everyday life. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. The next speaker is Shatora Robertson.
Good morning. My name is Shatora Robertson. I'm a policy advisor for Tesla. I want to thank you for the opportunity to comment this morning. Tesla's mission is to accelerate the world's transition to sustainable energy. And moreover, Tesla believes that the world will not be able to solve the climate crisis without directly reducing air pollutant emissions from the transportation and power sectors. To accomplish its mission, Tesla designs, develops, manufactures, and sells high-performance, fully electric vehicles, energy generation and storage systems, and installs and maintains those. We also manufacture and sell a Class 8 heavy-duty truck with 500 miles of range. We call it the Tesla Semi. In December 2022, we delivered the first semis, which is a Class 8 truck, to customers. In less than a year, our first customer has already put over 600,000 miles on their semis. Tesla strongly supports Maryland's adoption of ACT that would apply to model years 2027 and beyond. Transportation emissions reductions should be a top priority for Maryland, and we're pleased to see that it is. The Clean Trucks Act of 2023 reinforces Maryland's ongoing commitment to reducing climate pollutants to reach the goal of achieving a 60% reduction in greenhouse gas emissions by 2031. As noted in Maryland's GHG emissions inventory, CO2 accounts for 78% of the state's GHG emissions. Air pollution is also estimated to cause over 200,000 premature deaths in the U.S. each year, with more than half caused by transportation emissions. Adoption of ACT will assist Maryland in maintaining compliance with U.S. EPA National Ambient Air Quality Standards for ozone. In August 2023, the EPA announced a new review of the ozone NAAQS to ensure the standard reflects the most current relevant science and protects people from these harmful pollutants. Planning to reduce transportation emissions through electrification now is critical to ensure that Maryland remains on the path to attainment under future, more stringent standards. Further, Tesla believes the pace of electric vehicle innovation, cost reduction, and investment, coupled with the public health and welfare imperatives to address critical air pollution and accelerating impacts of climate change, support adoption of ACT. Without adopting ACT, not only will the state miss out on these public health benefits, but it will be very hard for Maryland truck operators to get the supply of zero-emission vehicles to meet demand, with manufacturers prioritizing states that have adopted the rules. As noted in our written comments, we do suggest that Maryland amend the regulations as drafted to permit early action credits beginning with model year 2024 to align with other ACT states and to ensure that the state properly incentivizes early adopters. I want to thank you again for the opportunity to comment and support Maryland's effort to mitigate the detrimental effects caused by transportation-related emissions.
Thank you for your comments. The next speaker is Tom Van Heek.
Good morning. My name is Tom Van Heeke, T-O-M-V-A-N-H-E-E-K-E. I'm Senior Policy Advisor at Rivian Automotive, where our mission is to keep the world adventurous forever. Rivian is a US-based EV manufacturer building our R1T pickup, R1S SUV, and an electric delivery van currently exclusive to Amazon in Illinois. Our vehicles meet the requirements of the Advanced Clean Trucks regulation. Rivian is also building a network of DC fast chargers across the US known as the Rivian Adventure Network. 44 sites are already up and running. Rivian strongly supports the ACT rule governing the medium and heavy duty vehicle sector. Implementing the ACT regulations is a critical precondition to building a robust medium and heavy duty ZEV market in Maryland, and ample evidence underscores the feasibility of the requirements. Our own vehicles are proof that now is the time to adopt this regulation. Because our vehicles are classified as medium duty passenger vehicles, and in the case of the van, a Class 2B vehicle, they meet the requirements of the ACT rule in the 2B3 sector. In 2022, we manufactured almost 25,000 vehicles, and we expect to more than double production this year. Amazon operates more than 5,000 Rivian vans in more than 800 cities across the country, delivering literally tens of millions of packages emissions-free, while a diverse array of fleets, from fire departments to utilities to construction contractors, find that the R1T and R1S can also meet their work needs. I want to stress the value of early credits under the ACT rule and respectfully urge MDE to amend the current regulatory proposal to allow manufacturers to earn such credits beginning with model year 2024. Early action credits incentivize the accelerated sale of EV trucks and vans ahead of the formal compliance obligation. Not only does this deliver critical air pollution and greenhouse gas emissions reductions sooner, but it can help industry grow more quickly to mass production and thus move down the cost curve. It also pulls forward the all-important demand signal for charging providers and utilities. Unfortunately, as currently drafted, the regulation would only allow credits beginning with model year 2026, 1 year ahead of the official start year for the rule. Common practice in existing ACT states is to allow 3 model years of early credit generation. For example, Connecticut, Maine, and Rhode Island, all actively in the rulemaking process right now, plan to provide for early credits in their jurisdictions beginning with model year 2024. Massachusetts, New Jersey, and New York, to name another 3, already provide early credits. Medium and heavy-duty ZEBs are available today, and if Maryland does not align with peer and regional states, it risks ceding ground as a priority market for these products and delaying the transition. So we urge MDE to amend the proposal to allow for early credits in model year 2024. Ultimately, these rules are critical for achieving the state's climate and air quality goals and will benefit fleet operators by delivering a greater diversity of vehicle technologies to the state's vehicle market. Like the ACC2 regulations, the key benefit of ACT is that it sends a crucial signal to charging providers and utilities about what future EV volumes in the state will look like, facilitating investments and build out on a reasonable timeline. The regulations impose obligations on manufacturers. Rivian is ready to meet those requirements with our product lineup. So once again, we applaud Maryland's commitment and thank you for developing this rulemaking. The market's ready for ACT adoption this year, and we respectfully urge the department to act quickly in support of the rules, and then to follow that up with an expeditious needs assessment as required by the Clean Trucks Act, and conclude that as quickly as possible to avoid any implementation delays. We'll follow up with extended technical comments in writing and look forward to the remainder of the rulemaking process. Thanks.
Thank you for your comments. The next speaker is Kevin Shen.
Hello, everyone. My name is Kevin Chen. That's K-E-V-I-N, last name S-H-E-N. And I'm a policy analyst for the Union of Concerned Scientists. I offer this testimony in support of the adoption of the Advanced Clean Trucks Rule as soon as possible on behalf of UCS. Besides being legally required to adopt by the Clean Trucks Act, this rule is a critical step in achieving the goals of the Climate Solutions Now Act, reducing toxic diesel pollution, and saving on costs for fleets and utility bill ratepayers. Maryland should also implement the large entity reporting requirement for supporting data for programs supporting fleet electrification. I'd like to focus my testimony on three major points. First is that electric trucks perform better than their diesel counterparts, resulting in dramatic climate and health benefits. A UCS report from this past August conducted with NRDC and Environmental Resources Management found that the ACT would reduce greenhouse gas emissions by 28 million metric tons and avoid over 38,000 cases of respiratory illnesses, resulting in net societal benefits of over $6.6 billion cumulatively through 2050. This is similar to the estimates that MDE and the American Lung Association mentioned using a different methodology and comparison. Across applications as well, electric trucks emit 66 to 87% less greenhouse gas emissions over their lifetimes compared to their diesel counterparts. By 2027, multiple sources have conducted comprehensive life cycle analyses as well and have shown that these trucks have will have a lower total cost of ownership due to lower fuel and maintenance costs, ultimately saving Maryland fleets an average of $46 million annually. Second, the ACT provides market certainty with a gradual and technically feasible timeline for increasing sales of zero-emission vehicles. In particular, it provides certainty for proactive utility planning to take advantage of the many grid benefits of zero-emission vehicles, which include being able to use their batteries for grid resilience, as well as downward pressure on utility rates, which will benefit everybody who pays an electricity bill. Most of these trucks will charge at home base with ample lead time for first adopters to install infrastructure by the start of the rule. And also the larger charging applications can be satisfied with the upcoming megawatt charging system and larger DC fast charging, which has been demonstrated by the most recent Run on Less project by the North American Council on Freight Efficiency. This will attract $84 million a year in public and private investments in charging infrastructure, resulting in more higher paying jobs. And further, this rule prepares Maryland to take advantage of the over $2.8 billion in federal funding from the Inflation Reduction Act geared for medium and heavy duty trucks and buses for both vehicle incentives and charging infrastructure build out. Lastly, MDE should adopt the large entity fleet reporting requirements as soon as possible, as mentioned by the Sierra Club earlier. These are meant to complement the ACT and provide key data for the development of future programs for things such as charging infrastructure or fleet support, and they also will contribute to a better understanding of diesel particulate pollution and its sources across the state. When doing so, MDE should lower the fleet threshold and also require regular reporting for a robust and ongoing picture of the rapidly changing medium and heavy duty vehicle, zero emission vehicle adoption. Now is the time to act. The climate crisis is not some far off thing. It is here now, and folks in the state are feeling it more and more. And so we urge MDE to move forward with these rules without any implementation delays to move Maryland forward to a clean transportation future. Thank you so much for your important work on this rule.
Thank you for your comments. The next speaker is Christine Berg.
Good morning. My name is Christine Berg, CHRISTINE BERG. I'm an oncologist, and I would like to thank the Maryland Department of the Environment for holding this hearing today. The New England Journal of Medicine stated that the greatest threat to global public health will be the failure to keep the global temperature rise below 1.5 degrees centigrade and to restore nature. I commend the Maryland Department of the Environment for working to enforce the Advanced Clean Truck Rule passed in the Maryland 2023 session as rapidly as possible. The health effects of the climate crisis and air pollution have been very well stated by others in this session, and I would only like to conclude my remarks by stating that rapid implementation of the Advanced Clean Truck Rule in Maryland is critical. The idea of these credits for early adopters makes a great deal of sense, and I urge forward progress. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. The next speaker is Neda Daylami.
Morning, my name is Neda Daylami. It's Nedadeylami. I'm a vehicle electrification manager at the Environmental Defense Fund. I'm here to speak on the need for urgent implementation of the ACT in Maryland to take the greatest advantage of funding and incentive opportunities, flexible compliance rules, and the decreasing cost of electrification. The ACT would help Maryland take advantage of investments in infrastructure and vehicles. There's $10 million in the state's medium duty and heavy duty zero emission vehicle grant program for vehicles and charging equipment for 2027, with preferences given to vehicles operated in the state or impacting overburdened communities. $63 million over 5 years from the National EV Infrastructure Formula Program, and $2.5 billion in discretionary grants available authorized only through fiscal year 2026. $5 billion through 2026 with the EPA's Clean School Bus Program, with almost $1 billion already awarded. The Inflation Reduction Act's Clean Heavy Duty Vehicle Program provides $1 billion in grants and rebates for zero-emission trucks and infrastructure, and the Clean Ports Program invests $3 billion for zero-emission port equipment and technology. The IRA also provides up to $100,000 per site for truck charging, with the refueling property credit, and up to $40,000 in tax credits for zero-emission trucks and buses. When factoring in these incentives, upfront costs of most electric trucks and buses may be on par with diesel-powered vehicles in 2027, some as soon as 2024, as mentioned. The U.S. Department of Energy study showed that even without incentives, because of their lower operational costs, nearly half of electric trucks and buses will be cheaper to buy, operate, and maintain than diesel counterparts by 2030. The ACT incorporates these considerations into its gradual sales timeline, which differs among vehicle classes. The ACT also offers built-in flexibility through credit banking and trading between manufacturers and vehicle classes. More sales in one category may offset sales in another, and credits are generally weighted by size, where a larger vehicle earns more. Excuse me. There is further generous flexibility within the Class 7 to 8 tractor trailer category, so that long-haul trucks will have lower sales requirements than non-tractor Class 7 to 8 trucks, such as drayage or refuse trucks, excuse me, which are simpler to electrify. That's also why in California in 2022, although there were almost 600 trucks and delivery vans, there were double that amount of buses. I urge swift implementation of the ACT in 2026 to capture these benefits for Maryland while they last. Thank you for your time.
Thank you for your comments. The next speaker is Brian Robb.
Hi, good morning, everyone. I'm Brian Robb, B-R-I-A-N, last name R-O-B-B. Government Relations Director with Lion Electric. Thank you to Maryland's Department of the Environment for providing this opportunity to comment in support of Maryland's adoption of the ACT regulation. Lion is the leading OEM of all-electric zero-emission school buses in Class 5 through 8 trucks. And this past summer in Joliet, Illinois, we just opened the largest dedicated all-electric medium and heavy-duty commercial vehicle production facility in the country. And when it comes to climate impact, research clearly shows that although medium and heavy-duty trucks and buses make up only 9% of Maryland's 4.2 million registered vehicles, they contribute 39% of the nitrogen oxide emissions, 48% of fine particulate matter, and 21% of climate change emissions from all on-road vehicles in the state. Lion has supported the passage of similar rules and policies in other states, including California, Colorado, Oregon, Washington, New Jersey, Rhode Island, Massachusetts, New York, and many more. All these states understand the financial, health, and environmental benefits of the ACT rule, and they are taking swift action to implement this regulation. I'm here on behalf of Lion to respectfully urge Maryland's Department of the Environment to not only adopt this rule, but to also amend the proposed rule to allow for early credits beginning with model year 2024 vehicles, very similar to the rulemaking process in the states just mentioned. Delaying the implementation of Maryland's ACT regulation would result in negative impacts such as higher rates of air pollution to increasing vehicle operating and maintenance costs for fleet owners and operators. And as you're all aware, medium and heavy duty zero emission vehicles are available today and on the road. And if Maryland does not align its early credit rules with peer and regional states, there is a risk of ceding ground as a priority market for these products and delaying the transition and forfeiting environmental gains. This delay could also potentially decrease the opportunity to apply to or receive federal funds or hinder the growth of Maryland's clean technology manufacturing industry. And additionally, prolonging the implementation of the rule could potentially slow down the state's main objective of meeting greenhouse gas emissions reductions by 60%, affecting the state's overall transition to electrification. We respectfully ask that the Maryland's Department of Environment implement the intended advanced clean trucks regulation, implement with speed by allowing access to these early credits in 2024. Lion is ready to meet these standards set by ACT, and we also wholeheartedly believe that the market at large is equally ready. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your comments. The next speaker is Nick Egelhoff.
Hi, my name is Nick Egelhoff. That's Nickegelhoff. And I'm the Senior Associate for State Policy at Ceres, a nonprofit organization that advances leadership among investors, companies, and capital market influencers to transform the economy and create a just and sustainable future for people and the planet. I'm here to express Ceres' strong support for Maryland's adoption of the ACT rule. Ceres organized several influential business networks, including the Businesses for Innovative Climate and Energy Policy Network, BICEP, a coalition of over 80 major businesses who voice their support for policies our economy needs to prevent the dire financial and material risks of climate change, while unleashing new industries, jobs, and economic growth as a part of the solution. The Ceres Investor Network and Corporate Electric Vehicle Alliance, a collaboration of 30 companies looking to completely decarbonize and electrify their fleets that they collectively own, lease, and operate nearly 1.3 million on-road vehicles in the United States. Businesses across our networks have decided to electrify their on-road fleet and networked vehicles to capture operational cost savings, meet emissions and air quality goals, and support the health of their communities, customers, and employees. The SEVA alone currently represents robust demand for zero-emission vehicles, with members planning to procure approximately 330,000 ZEVs under a supportive market environment as soon as 2026. While the availability of commercial ZEVs in the US market has improved, major fleet operators still face difficulties procuring the ZEVs in terms of both unit volume and model configuration that they need to meet their ambitious climate and sustainability goals. As major operators of light, medium, and heavy-duty vehicles, Alliance members and their peers rely in large part on technology-driven driving policies like ACT to close the gap between supply and demand for zero-emission commercial vehicles. The Alliance released a letter supporting the adoption of ACT by additional states, including Maryland. They note that by adopting ACT, state policymakers can help fleets access the volume and variety of medium and heavy-duty ZEV models that they need to unlock significant health, economic, and climate benefits. In addition to the letter from the Alliance, Ceres also organized a business sign-on supporting the ACT rule that has been signed by over 85 companies, investors, and employers, including many with operations or business interests in Maryland. Choosing not to adopt the ACT rule could also make it increasingly difficult for companies in Maryland to access the electric and zero-emission medium and heavy-duty models that they need. This is because OEMs will be incentivized to sell the electric and zero-emission models they produce to states that have adopted the rule to ensure they will comply with supply requirements. Adopting the ACT rule will bring Maryland into the vanguard of clean transportation policy, accelerate the cost-effective deployment of zero-emission medium and heavy-duty vehicles, drive local innovation and investment in clean technology development and manufacturing, and allow our fleet owners and operators to meet their financial and greenhouse gas emissions goals and reduce air pollution-related health impacts and costs across the state. Ceres strongly supports swift adoption of the ACT rule and looks forward to working with MDE and the state to support a clean and thriving transportation sector in Maryland. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment. The next speaker is Ramon Palencia Calvo.
Good morning. My name is Ramon Palencia Calvo, Ramon Palencia Calvo, and I am the Deputy Director of the Maryland Legal Conservation Voters, Maryland LCV. And I'm here today to express our strong support for the adoption and urgent implementation of the Advanced Clean Truck Rule. Implementation of the ACT will improve health outcomes for communities who have endured an unjust and unfair burden of harmful air pollution. Transportation is the largest contributor to greenhouse gas emissions in Maryland, and we need solutions that match this challenge. Emissions from the transportation sector contribute to the impacts for changing climate and to unhealthy levels of local air pollution. In the most recent State of the Air report from the American Lung Association, counties representing 43% of Maryland's population receive a failing grade for high ozone days. Diesel emissions have a devastating effect on our health, and the burden from this pollution is not evenly shared. Neighborhoods located near major roads and highways face disproportionate burdens from traffic and transportation pollution. Those neighborhoods are far more often communities of colors due to decades of residential segregation and bear a burden of unsafe pedestrian conditions, unremitting noise pollution, higher rates of asthma, and other health conditions. In our region, the average concentrations of exposure to particulate matter for Latinos are 75% higher than for white residents. For African Americans, the concentrations are 61% higher. If we want to protect communities that disproportionately suffer from air pollution, we must commit to transitioning medium and heavy-duty vehicles to zero-emissions electric vehicles. Maryland LCV is especially invested in the inclusion of electric school buses in the ACT. Among children, asthma is the leading chronic disease. Black and Latino children are more likely to suffer and die from asthma than white children. Implementation of the ACT would greatly accelerate the electrification of school bus fleets, improving the health of more than 650,000 students who ride diesel buses while pursuing an education. In closing, the ACT is an important and necessary regulation to prevent harmful pollution from medium and heavy-duty vehicles. Maryland LCV urges the adoption and implementation of the ACT without delay. Thank you for your consideration of these comments.
Thank you for your comments. The next speaker is Mike O'Halloran.
Good morning. My name is Mike O'Halloran, O''Halloran, and I'm speaking today on behalf of the Mid-Atlantic Petroleum Distributors Association. MAPTA is a regional trade association representing energy marketers throughout Maryland, Delaware, and the District of Columbia. MAPTA member companies supply all motor and heating fuel products sold in the region, including gasoline, diesel fuel, and heating fuels. Members also own and operate Maryland, Delaware, and DC's gas station and convenience stores. The proposed regulations mirror those of California's Advanced Clean Trucks program. In effect, adoption will curtail the availability of medium heavy-duty vehicles powered by internal combustion engines. Instead, Marylanders will be pushed towards the purchase of costly and unproven zero-emission MHDVs. Our submitted comments express concern of the state's readiness to adopt ACT and the required needs assessment that was a part of the Clean Trucks Act passed by the General Assembly this year. It is very unlikely the state will have the charging infrastructure ready and accessible for these trucks, especially heavy-duty vehicles, under the timeline that is a part of this regulation. Other concerns include the cost of implementation, equipment, vehicle price, ongoing costs, and the ability of the state to design and build the infrastructure needed to support a medium and heavy-duty transportation sector based largely on zero-emission vehicles for these classes. As noted, the Clean Trucks Act passed by the state legislature requires a robust needs assessment prior to the implementation of this rule. To date, that needs assessment has not been accomplished. This leads to a serious concern for the businesses, customers, and clients who depend on MHDVs powered by internal combustion engines to deliver the food, medicine, and supplies the public needs. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. The next speaker is Shilpa Shetty. We can't hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, great. Hi, my name is Shilpa Shetty. S as in Sam, H as in Harry, I as in Igloo, L as in Larry, P as in Paul, A. First name is Shilpa. Last name is Shetty. S as in Sam, H as in Harry, E as in Egg, N as in Nancy, V as in Victor, I. I live in Baltimore County, and you may have heard my testimony before when we were first trying to get the ACT passed. However, I think it bears repeating today. As I had said the last time, I do not own a car, so I often walk over a mile to get my groceries. On several occasions, I have seen large trucks spewing black clouds of exhaust as I'm walking to or from the store. Sometimes I'm far enough ahead that I can stop for a minute or so until the fumes are no longer visible. Nonetheless, as I pass through that area, those toxins linger in high concentrations and make their way into my lungs. Other times, I'm not as lucky. The truck releases its foul pollutants right as it passes me by, leaving me nauseous as I try to reach my destination. I am not alone in suffering from the effects of diesel pollution. The EPA estimates that annually in the US, these toxins cause up to 173,067 cases of respiratory symptoms and 8,822 premature deaths. These harms are not evenly distributed. Communities of color breathe in 66% more pollution from vehicles than do white communities. And please remember that pedestrians and bicyclists do not have the same protections as people in passenger cars. People in passenger cars can always roll up their windows and switch the air circulation to indoor only. People like me, pedestrians and bicyclists, do not have that option. The sooner we replace heavy-duty vehicles with their zero-emission equivalents, the sooner we save people from the pain and suffering due to diesel-related toxins. The reason I am repeating my testimony is that even though the ACT was passed, it has not been implemented yet. People like me continue to suffer the same way we did before. Please implement the ACT as soon as possible, ideally in 2026 for model year 2027. Again, the sooner this rule is implemented, the sooner Maryland can start to protect people like me who don't have cars and must walk or ride our bikes to get to our destinations. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. We have read all the names in our speaker list. Would anyone else like to comment on this action? Hearing none, let the record reflect that a statement has been taken from all who wish to make one. Let the record show that it is now 11:00 a.m. and this will conclude the public hearing for the proposed new chapter COMAR 261143 Advanced Clean Trucks Program. On behalf of MDE, we appreciate your comments today. Thank you.